Hey everybody, I'm really excited about this week's video because it's all about the volume profile. About 7 years ago, I started trading, and the core reason, the foundational reason why I've been able to stick with this, make the turn, and to do this full time is I was introduced to a strategy called volume profiling. And so I'm excited about this video because I'm going to be breaking it down, and I am in love with the profile. If the volume profile was a woman, I would try my darndest to wife her up. Now, the volume profile does not get the respect it deserves for as deep as it goes. And truly, this video could be 10 hours long. But what I want to do in this video is cover a lot of ground very quickly and to give you a lot of practical steps and actions that you can use immediately. So by the end of this video, I'll cover what the profile is and what it is not. That will clear up a lot of questions if you have any. I'm also going to show you how exactly to set it up. If you're using TradingView, I'll give you a resource where I'll walk through step by step exactly how to set it and configure the settings. And if you're using Sierra Charts, that's my personal charting package, I'll link in the description below my chart book, and you can take that definition and you can just upload it and have all my exact settings. You can tweak it from there or just keep it because the settings are pretty good, but you have my colors and everything, okay? If you're not using Sierra and if you're not using TradingView, then you're kind of out of luck. But seriously, you'll be able to figure it out based on those two. You're going to be okay. I also want to then show you how to practically use the profile, what you do with the information, how you can make trades on it, and how you can use it for your research. So a lot of great stuff in this video. Make sure that you stick with it. Now, before we jump into all of that, let me briefly tell you my story of how I came into volume profiling. And whether or not you fall in love with the profile, pay attention to this story because the path is going to be very similar to one that you've already gone down if you're farther down the road, or the one that you're on right now if you don't have your system and if you're not consistent. If you're a trader that doesn't have a system, you don't have an approach that you're following and that you're consistent with, it's a lot like being a single person out there looking for love. You're kind of aimless, you're kind of wandering around, you don't have a lot of direction in this area, but you're introduced to people, you meet people, and when you first meet them, everything seems great. They just seem perfect. You get all infatuated and hopped up on emotions, but then you see different sides of them and things don't quite pan out. Things all fall apart like every relationship ever does. What? No, but then you meet other people and you try other things and you're introduced to other people, and the same thing kind of repeats. They seem great, everything's going perfect, and then something happens. You see other sides of them, things don't quite match up. You start to see the real them, things fall apart. And when you're looking for a trading system, the same thing happens. You see somebody on YouTube that tells you about their strategy and it seems perfect. They give you examples where they cherry pick scenarios where the strategy plays out perfectly. And then when you try to use it, you get hyped up and you think that this is perfect, this is great, I found it. Then when you try to use it, you see different sides of it and you start to realize this thing doesn't always work. And then you typically either lose interest with it or it falls apart and you start looking for something else. You go through this little period of kind of being aimless and lost again. Then you're introduced to something, right? And this is really the path of all traders, but people that don't become consistent, they never find their way off of this part of the journey. And so I stumbled around for a very long time. And through every approach that I tried, even if I made a profitable trade, there was always something in the back of me that I didn't really understand why it happened, other than the fact that this line told me to buy and then this line told me to sell. But that's not a very good reason, and that's not a very sustainable reason. But then you go through periods where you see different sides of it and it doesn't seem to really work and you try something else, right? But when I was introduced to the volume profile, everything changed. Like it just clicked. And it was the first thing that really made sense. And it made me kind of understand why nothing else really worked out that I was trying. And the same thing is going to be true for you. If you have your system or your approach, you know exactly what I mean. And if you're still wondering and you don't really know what you're doing, you just haven't found it yet, maybe it will be the volume profile. So I was wandering around aimless and I found the volume profile. I started using it and everything started to click and it made a lot of sense. I was very re-energized about trading at the time. Now, the volume profile, like every system, it's not a magic bullet that once you discover it, everything's perfect. You still have to build your skill level and you still have to develop it, right? And so I went through some ups and some downs trying to iron it out, but I stuck with it and I didn't quit and I didn't get discouraged like with every other system before that, because this was the one that made sense to me. This was my path. And so I started developing it. I kept going with it. And if you see me trade live today, or if you see me trade live 2 years ago, it doesn't matter. I'm doing the same exact thing. And when you have that type of a routine and that type of a conviction in your system, that's what leads you to consistency. And when I was able to really nail that down, that's when I was able to make the turn to do this with consistency and everything else that came after that. Quitting the job, doing this full time, being able to manage a 6-figure account for a firm in Chicago, everything that came else was based in this. As I'm sure you can tell, I love talking about the volume profile because I feel like I owe a lot to this system. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna go back inside. We'll jump into the charts and we'll start going through some basic things, what the profile is, what it isn't, how to set it up, and some ways that you can use it.
Okay, so we're looking at multiple volume profiles. This is set up where each one of these profiles represent a trading session. So if you will, this is one day, this is another day, this is another day, and this was today. Okay, so what exactly is a volume profile? A volume profile is simply displaying at every single price how much buying and how much selling occurred. It's showing you the volume. When we have a buyer and we have a seller that come together and do business, when that buying and selling happens, we call that volume. Now, why is that important? It's important because if you understand the only reason that we have exchanges, the only reason that we have financial markets is we are trying to match together buyers and sellers. That's it. The market that you are trading on, it is a giant auction, and its sole purpose is to try to match together buyers and sellers. So if you can see where the buying and where the selling is happening, that is very valuable information, and there's a lot of ways that you can use it. So in its most simplistic sense, a volume profile is a histogram that's been turned on its side, showing you at every single price where the buying and where the selling is happening. Before we talk about how to use that information, let me walk you through a few parts of the profile that you need to understand. So we have the top of the profile and we have the bottom of the profile. That's obviously the high and the low. Okay, and then every single profile, you'll see two different colors. This right here, gray area, and then there's blue on either side. It doesn't always have to be gray and blue. This is the way that I have it set up. But what this is displaying is very important. Okay, every volume profile has a value area. Now, this value area represents this gray area on my profiles. And what that's showing you is it's showing you where roughly 70% of all the trades happen. So of all the buying and selling that occurred during this day, roughly 70% of them happened inside of this value area, meaning that the other 30% happened down here and happened up here. Okay, so that's the value area. It's a very important part of the profile. We'll talk more about how you can use that in just a moment. We also have this thick line that's running straight through it, and you'll notice every profile has one of these as well. This thick line is called the point of control. Okay, you'll see it abbreviated as the POC, but it stands for point of control. What that's telling us is what price is the most traded price on the entire profile. Okay, so the POC, if you will, represents the most popular price of all the buying and all the selling that occurred on any given day. The point of control is where the most buying and selling occurred. So this is showing us that the 28.88 even, that was the most popular price for today on the S&P 500. Again, that's a very valuable piece of information. If you understand that we're trying to match buying and selling together, then all of a sudden, areas where we don't do much business and there's not much buying or selling, those are very unpopular, and we're not going to be drawn to those areas. But areas where prices are accepted and they're considered popular, those are going to work as magnets attracting price. So it's very important we understand where those are. This is the kind of information you cannot get with just candles. When you're looking at a volume profile, it's showing you what is happening behind the candles. It's very, very illuminating, okay? And then we also have this thin line that's kind of running through all the profiles as well. This is not a moving average of any kind. What that is it is VWAP. VWAP stands for volume weighted average price. Now, what this is telling us is of the entire profile, what is the average price that everybody is paying. So if all the buying and all the selling occurred, some people were paying these prices, some people were paying these prices, but VWAP is the average that everybody has paid. So point of control is the single most popular price, and VWAP is the average price that people have paid for any given time period or on any given profile. Again, a very valuable piece of information. If you're looking to get in on a trade, for instance, and let's say you want to get long up here, but you realize that VWAP is all the way down here, and the average price people are paying is down here, and you're in 28, and you're trying to get in at this 28.94, you realize that you're not really getting a good price. You're paying a lot more than what the average price of the day is, okay? It's one contextually way to use the VWAP, several other ways as well. As I said, we can't discuss everything in this video, but there's a few specific things that I really want to get out and then just touch base on a couple of the others. Okay, so those are the basic parts that make up the profile. It's actually incredibly simplistic. Once you understand exactly what it's telling you and you understand what the pieces are, it makes a lot of perfect sense. Now, this is set up for intraday profiles, one profile for each day. You can also lump multiple profiles together, and then that would be a composite. We don't have time to really get into that, but it's another way that you can use volume profiling. Very powerful, very effective. Now, if you're looking to set these up, what I'm going to do is I will link in the description under this video another video where I walk through TradingView and I show you exactly how to configure it, exactly how to put the settings, and exactly how I would set it up. So I'll link that down below so I don't have to take the time and try to explain it here. If you are using Sierra Charts, I will link my chart book, and what you can do is you can import it and you will get my exact setup for the charts. You'll get all the time frames I use from my big picture all the way down to my trigger chart, and you can just import that and you'll have everything set up automatically, okay? And again, if you're not using one of those two charting packages, then just by watching this video and by watching the other video, you'll have a very good understanding of how to format it on your own with whatever charting package you are using, okay? So let me go ahead and jump into some examples of how we can use this. I'm going to switch to crude oil because we were just on the ES and the action over there has been pretty bad the last couple days. So this is going to be a pretty good example. What I want to show you here is how we can use the volume profile for mean reversion type trading, okay? Let me get rid of these lines and I'll redraw them in a second and show you how we came up with them. Now, what we can do here and what we're looking to do is to do mean reversion, which means we're looking to play extremes of this profile back to the middle, but back to the other end of the extreme, okay? So we're looking to play the value area. Now, you don't want to run out half-cocked with this information and start trying to trade it live. Let me zoom back on this day and show you contextually when we know we can look for this type of plays, okay? If we zoom back and we look at how this day shaped up, this is where the day opened, okay? Now what happened is we opened, we pushed down, and then we started to push up. Now right here, this is what we call the opening range low. Mark it off, the opening range low. It's the first time during a session that we have buyers step in. Once we got up here, we started to sell off. That is our opening range high, okay? This is a way to drill down and get contextually how the day is shaping up. And this is a very raw, real way to see price action and to get an idea for who's in charge and what type of a day we can expect. So what we have here in the first several minutes of the day is we have a opening range low, we have an opening range high. From there, we go on to violate the low and violate the high of this opening range. Okay, that is telling us when we see this happen that there is two-sided action going on. We have buyers, we have sellers. We shouldn't expect a trend today, because what we can expect is that we have people showing up on either side of the auction process. A very valuable piece of information for how this day is going to shape up and what we can expect. So when we see this type of a day forming, and there's other variables that we can get for confirmation here, but what we can look for is mean reversion. So what we have going on is we chopped around for quite a bit. We've tested lower, we came back up, we sold off. Now we can expect again that this shouldn't be a trend type of a day. I don't want to say shouldn't, because there is no should or shouldn'ts. The market's going to do what it's going to do, but it's not likely that we're going to see a trending type of behavior today. So where do you get in? Where do you get out? How do you take advantage of this? One very simple way to do it is to play the extremes of the profile. So when we sell off and when we're out of value, we can wait for price to get back into value and hold, and then we can enter looking for the other extreme of value, okay? And then once we get there, we can do the same thing and look for the other side. And I'll play this through so you can see kind of how it plays out. We're going to put this on fast speed because we don't want this to take too long. But let's see how this behaves. Okay, so we're trying to get back into value. We haven't been able to. There's nothing to do here. We're just attempting it, right? Kind of peaking, trying to get back into value again. Haven't been able to do it. Okay, definitely trying. And we're breaking into it now. Okay, so we're pushing up into value. We're coming back. We're holding it, right? So that you can get long here. We're pushed back into value. We're holding value, the low. So you would enter long, and then you would look ultimately for the other side of value, okay? There's VWAP in your way. There's the point of control in the way and so forth. Some different areas to be aware of. But just for this, a very simple part of this illustration, entering at one side of value, looking for the other side. And you'll notice that the value area is constantly changing slightly, because as the day unfolds and as more volume goes off, this 70% area, roughly 70% area, is changing, right? Okay, so nothing's changed here. We just ran up. We had a pullback. We're still looking for the other side of the value area. Still pushing up. Still several. Okay, boom. Now this is 30 times the speed, so this happened very quickly. But you see, we ran right up to the other side of value, and then we held. So you can exit your position here and flip the script if you'd like, and then go ahead and look for the other side of value. Why are we expecting this? Okay, we know contextually that we have both sides being present, that the auction is happening, the market is moving, but we're not being very directional. So we also know that as the day unfolds and as this profile sets up, that this is where all the action is happening. So what we can do is we can expect that this area is going to keep being tested. So as we get to one extreme or the other, we can just keep flipping the script and getting in on one side or the other, okay? I'll stop that so it's not so distracting, but you can see how this plays out and how we respect these levels inside of the profile, all right? Because these are very, very popular prices, and we can expect that it's going to hold inside of here. Now, if you understand how crude oil moves, for instance, what we're trading right now, this kind of low 30s to high 60s, that's like a solid 35 cents of range plus, okay? So each one of these moves from one side to the other, you're looking at around $350, again, plus, per contract that you have on. Every cent that crude moves is $10 per contract you're trading if you're trading CL, okay? And so these moves right here, roughly 70 cents of range back and forth over, a couple hours of time, not even, that's $700 worth of range per contract that you have on. This is a very, very valuable and very profitable way to analyze the market and to take advantage of when we're being range bound and knowing what areas are valuable and where you are going to want to fade from. All right. Now, again, you got to be careful with not running out half cocked with this information, because it's not as easy as just buying in low and selling, buying the low of the profile and selling the high of the profile once we're inside a value area. There are certain time frames where, for instance, the first hour of the day, the profile is still developing. You're not going to want to lean on the value area that much. You're going to want the day to develop a little bit. Once we started looking at this has been a couple hours into the day, so things are starting to really shape up. You also need to be able to understand how to analyze the open and what type of a day we're shaping up. If we are trending, then you're not going to want to be looking to do mean reversion and play these extremes back on each other, right? So there's several pieces of the puzzle, and this, as I said, is not the kind of information that you're going to just find on YouTube that's just out there and about. This is next level mastery when you're picking a style, you're picking an approach, and you're taking it to the next level. There's been times where I've gotten a lot of random type education with the profile. Random in the sense like it's come from all sorts of different ways. I've tried to find books and stuff on it that there's not that much out there, but I've also had mentors walk me through this kind of stuff one-on-one. I've paid for courses that were just under $2,000 that showed nothing but the volume profile. They weren't about risk management. They weren't about becoming a better trader. They were literally just about the volume profile, but very valuable and worth every penny because you can use that skill to make that money back 100 times over if you know what you're doing with it. All right. You just don't want to run out half cocked with this information is what I'm getting at. But understand that if you want to take the time to learn these skills, very, very powerful. Now, let me show you another way that we can use the profile that can play in our decision making that, again, is very powerful. Okay, this was 2 days ago on the 8th, and we're back on crude oil still. Okay, so this is the end of one session, and then this is the beginning of another. So what we have going on here is we've opened, and then we're starting to move very strongly in one direction. Okay, now this is tough to read sometimes because when you see this type of action, you don't know, shoot, is this going to be a wild one-sided day that I need to get in on? Or are they just running up prices and is this kind of a type of a fake out before prices slam down the other way and they just run all these stops and do a short liquidation, okay? So the volume profile can show us and really help us understand these moves and how strong they are, especially at the beginning of some type of a trend day. Okay, so what we have going on here is, again, this is running at like 30 times speed, so it's going very fast, but this is almost 10 minutes into the session. Okay, so even though this happened just in a few seconds, this is a good 10 minutes have passed of sitting here watching this thing run up. Now, how can we feel good about this, or what can we glean from this? All right, one thing that we can understand from the volume profile is, and this might be cause for alarm here as we start to pull back, but we can understand where this point of control is. Okay, when we came up here and we started running up on price, the point of control moved to almost the top of the day. So where these prices are, the point of control is up here. What is that telling us? Okay, as this is moving up in price, okay, or as price is moving up and we're trying to figure out if we should have got on board, or if we did get on board, how good we should feel about this. One thing we can notice is if the volume, the point of control keeps shifting up as well, okay? Because what that's telling us is if the volume profile, the point of control rather, keeps shifting up with price, that is telling us that this is a very strong move, okay? Because now the most popular prices are up where are continually moving up as well, okay? So on this run up here, we saw the point of control move. On this run up here, we almost had the point of control move. As we pushed up higher, the point of control did move, okay? And again, we can see this contextually that these prices aren't just running up and then being rejected. They're running up, but then a lot of volume is following them. And you can see this move is not done yet. We're really accepting these prices. We're moving up. A lot of action is happening. A lot of transactions are going on. And this can give you a lot of confidence in the fact that this is a strong move that is nowhere near done yet. Okay, as you see, the point of control keeps moving up with these higher prices. Okay, so this is a good way to identify a trend day early on, or at least to know whether or not that action is strong. When you see run-ups happen and there's the volume The point of control is still down at the low and it's not moving up and the profile isn't getting any thicker. That's a red flag if you're looking to join that process, okay? But as the price moves up and as point of control and as volume keeps building, you can get a lot of confluence that, hey, this is a strong move. I am on board with this and I should be on board with this and I'm doing the right thing. Okay, so there's a couple ways to use the profile. I tried to talk extremely fast because I really wanted to cover a lot of things. And truthfully, I've just scratched the surface to some of the amazing ways that you can use the profile. And what I love about volume profiling is it's embedded with auction market theory and understanding why we have markets. And in its most simplistic sense, what the market is trying to do. We're trying to match together buyers and sellers. The volume profile gives us very valuable information that if we compare that with some skill, we can use that to make some very, very nice profits day in and day out. Now, one thing I want to clear up is the volume profile is not a buy here, sell here type of a system. It is a way of organizing information that we can then use in a lot of ways to make profits and to make trading decisions. I hope that this video gave you some understanding and really maybe whet your appetite, so to speak, for volume profiling. And if not for volume profiling, at least maybe understanding at a different level how much detail and kind of the in-depth knowledge that you need for whatever system or approach that you're going to go after. And so in this video, we talked about the volume profile, what it is, we talked about what it isn't. We went over the basic parts, understanding value area, understanding point of control, VWAP, and then we talked about a couple of the many very specific ways that you can use the profile to profit and to get a very good contextual understanding of what exactly is going on in your day. Now, if you want to take this idea even further, I've created a 2-hour training where I talk about your job as a trader and how to come up with your own systems and several other things. I'll link that in the description. You should definitely go check that out. It'll clear up a lot of questions that you have. Even if you don't know you have them, you'll probably get introduced to them and then understand a lot of clarity. Okay, so it'll be very valuable for you. Make sure you go check it out. I'll link it in the description, as well as the video to where I set this up on TradingView. I'll also show you my chart definitions so that you can import them on your own if you'd like. I really hope that you got value out of this video. I do a video like this every single week, so make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments, and if there's anything you'd like me to do a video on, feel free to shoot me a suggestion. This video came from a Twitter poll. I usually do a poll once a week to kind of get an idea of which video to make, so if you want to participate, you can join me there, or you can always shoot me here in the comments, okay? Be well, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.